Welcome back to the 3D Creator channel. Recently lent my Creality K1 3D printer to a friend of mine who wants to get into 3D printing, and he asked me to send him some links to any useful information on how to use it, and so I ended up dropping it off to him and wasn't able to give him a one-on-one sort of demo. So what I ended up doing is gave him, I wrote a write-up here, and so I wrote up basically all the steps to 3D print, specifically with the K1, but a lot of it applies to any FDM, FFF, whatever you want to call it, 3D printer. And so I thought I would make this video to show to share with everybody what I shared with him, because it ended up to be a pretty concise set of information that's probably should be in one video. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm on my site here, on my YouTube channel here, so I can show various videos, and I intend to link to the various videos to go more in depth with each point that I make. So let's see. So using K1 printers, there's a I don't know if any people may have missed. There's a multi-color version coming out in July, and I would be buying that because I've had a fair amount of Creality products and I've paid for them all, and some of them not entirely non-frustrating, but ultimately great value and mostly excellent performance, especially with the K1 and K1 Max that I paid full price for both, and very excellent printers. So let's see. So it comes with a USB thumb drive, and I included one for him, for my friend, with a bunch of files already on it, some pre-sliced to print in PLA, and some STL and or step files that he could slice for other materials. I also gave him a spool of nylon, gave him a spool of TPU, and a few different PLAs to choose from. But so, and whether you borrow a printer from me or you get it from Creality, it comes with a flash drive, and you can just plug it in and hit go on some preloaded files on the thumb drive. So you have that option. Now, once you print the easy stuff like that, then you want to get into slicing your own models. So you can get a STL file or a step file or some other file types, even image files. The Creality Print Slicer allows you to work with to 3D print, which is kind of neat, and I'll get into that. But ultimately, you need to install the Creality Print Slicer software. Yeah, blow this up a little bit. Alright, so you want to install the Creality Print Slicer software. Many printers, other printers that I've had, you can use pretty much any slicer. I've used Simplify 3D, I've used Cura, I've used Prusa Slicer, I tried a couple other ones, I think. And ultimately I was using Simplify 3D, but once I got my K1, I was pretty much stuck with the Creality Print Slicer, and so that's primarily what I use. And so basically you go to Creality.com, basically just Google Creality Print Software Download, and it'll bring you right to here. And so then you will go here, and this should be pretty harmless, and then I could click on Windows, and so it just already downloaded it. And so while it downloads, once it's done, you just run it, and it's like installing any other software. Pretty easy. All right, once that is installed, let's see. I have, so this is for a client for creating some knives. So I just happen to already have my print slicer open, and so let me go back to. I just want to make sure I stay on track here. The slicer software is somewhat intuitive, can be a little tricky. We can use step files, STL files. Step files can preserve the curves, or the STL files come out sort of faceted, almost like a gemstone, but you can make that, they call that low poly, and you can raise the number of polygons. Low poly means less polygons, low number of polygons. So it looks like sort of if you took a ball and turned it into a gemstone with facets, that would be low poly, sort of. So STL is going to give you polygons, whereas step files will give you curved files. Anyway, so I'm going to undo deleting these. I'll delete one of them. So basically, you open up the you can just drag and drop the STL or step file into here. This appears to me to be a step file because you can see this is curved. Actually, the other one I believe was the one I just deleted. That's probably a step file. So this is actually a good example. Let me see if that's the case, because that's what I was messing with. You know what? I did very high resolution even on the step file, so I can't tell the difference. One or both of these might be either or step and or STL files, but in any case, you can use either. All right, and so ultimately, select material and settings, and so let's just assume I'm printing with PLA. So I'm going to let me stretch this to fit the window that I'm recording here. All right, so now this makes more sense, I imagine. All right, so now I go over here and I can choose from these. I got Creality PLA, Creality PLA carbon fiber, I got Silk PLA, I got generic PLA, I got Hyper PLA, generic ABS, Creality PETG, generic PETG, Creality TPU, which is polyurethane, rubbery stuff, bunch of different materials. So let's just say generic PLA. And then I go high quality or normal quality, and these are all these other ones are just custom. So let's say just normal. If I went normal, I could adjust the layer height, I could adjust the various settings, I can adjust, if I go to shell, I can adjust how many lines of wall thickness, top layer number of lines, bottom layer's number of lines, all these things, infill percentage, speeds, sports, materials. So anyway, this is where you do your settings, save, and then I hit slice, and from here it will turn it into G-code ultimately, and G-code is what's used in a lot of automated machinery to basically telling the print nozzle where to move in space, and the extruder how much to move in space, and the temperature of the print bed, and the temperature of the nozzle, and the speeds of the cooling fans, and all of these things are all done in G-code. So anyway, but you can see here, if I roll back, you can see here this pattern, that's the infill pattern. So that's, I don't know if that was 15% or 22% or whatever the infill was. See, and I could change that. So actually that'd be a good example. So you see this is a grid pattern, but if I go back to prepare and I go back into my settings and I go infill, and then I say infill pattern, go from grid, and you can see all these different patterns. And just to give something simple to show, so I can go triangles instead, and I can say OK, then I can say slice, and it will slice. And then if I roll down to one of the middle layers, now you can see the infill pattern is triangles instead of squares, right? And then I can even I'll show another one. I think it's called gyroid. And so if I all right, so yeah, I'm to 22% there. Info pattern, gyroid. This one's really neat because it's a three-dimensional pattern, whereas the others are only sort of two-dimensional patterns. This is a three-dimensional pattern, and what it does is changes the stiffness of the part. So especially if you're using like TPU, so you can see this is a very curvy. And it's sort of three-dimensional curvy, and it kind of works its way around, kind of swirls in space. Right, and so what that'll do, especially with like a flexible filament like a TPU, to give you better flexibility, whereas a rectangular grid is sort of stiff in the left to right direction and the top to bottom and the forward back direction. But diagonally it's going to be a different stiffness. So anyway, so now I've sliced this, okay, and then I say export to local, and then it's going to ask me for a USB drive. So I would put in a USB drive. I probably have one here. Not entirely prepared for this, but all right, so I'm going to plug one in, and you'll see a drive appear over here. So it's going to say D, and so then I would select my D drive there, and I would say give this whatever file name, and I tend to put a date code at the beginning, so I know when I go to print at the machine, it's easy for me to tell that I have the latest thing. So today is April 21st. So I go 0421A because it's the first thing I've printed today. And so now, all right, so then this slicer is going to ask me, open the local folder, yes. And so, because now I need to eject it. But anyway, so now you can see 0421A. And so when I go out to my printer, I will know that that's the correct file for me to print. And so then I can either hit this eject button, or I can right click over here and say, so that pop-up doesn't show because of for whatever reason. But if I that does show, okay. So I can say, I need to go up a little higher. So if I go right click and I say eject, I can eject here. Then this window will disappear because it's no longer connected. It's no longer mounted, I believe they call it. The drive is no longer mounted to the computer. And so now I can pull the drive out and bring it out to my printer. All right, so did I miss anything here? So I can also simply Google search print settings for example, transparent nylon filament, for example, and the temperatures and speeds come up. So Google search is a good way to get your settings, because different materials take different temperature settings, and even depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the various materials, there's a range of temperatures and speeds and cooling and things that can be advantageous. But generally, this, especially with PLA is very easy to print with, and so just go with the standard settings, the default settings. You'll be fine. Let's see. These higher speed 3D printers, between the CoreXY and the input shaping and pressure advance, and I'm not an expert on exactly what those things are doing. I could fudge it a little bit. I could have the conversation, but I won't get into too much of the details. But features like that make it go really fast actually change the thermodynamics. And so with the Creality K1 being a very fast printer, it tends to actually print at a higher nozzle temperature than recommended and lower bed temperature than recommended due to the thermodynamic changes based on the speed increase. So anyway, so if you make a custom setting, you probably want to go a little hotter than recommended on the nozzle and a little cooler than recommended on the print bed. Your mileage may vary with your own testing. So I gave my friend some nylon to print with, but I didn't give him nylon settings, so he's probably not going to do that yet. And he can give me a call when he gets there, and we can touch on that in another episode potentially. Although I say that, let me go to my playlists, and I have this playlist for 3D printing PA, which is nylon, polyamide, polycarbonate, polyethylene, polyurethane, ASA. So this playlist is anything but PLA or PETG. And so if I go to videos here, I have a bunch of videos that are things other than PLA. And so here's one for nylon. Well, this is actually carbon fiber nylon. It's actually a pretty good video. But I don't think I go into my nylon settings anywhere here. Let me look really quickly. I don't think I made a video specifically on nylon settings. You know what I can do? I can just go to my Creality print slicer, and if I went to nylon, So if I go to, so it's confusing the way that that these material settings work. I still don't understand how they organize this, because if I can create an extra profile, and I think it's for PLA, right? But if I go and let's say I call it nylon, carbon fiber, normal, right? And then, but if I go to CRTPU, my nylon, carbon fiber, normal is still there. So that doesn't make sense to me. But I can go into this, and so like my settings for carbon fiber nylon, speeds 300 millimeters per second max. I wonder if I could raise that. Quite possibly. Go into material for the temperatures. Oh, see this, and these temperatures are way too low. So it should be like 270 on the nozzle. And build plate 70 might be good. I don't know. But what happens if I go to? That's so annoying that it's very goofy. This slicer software is very goofy. But if I go to so here's where I did polycarbonate. Yeah, so not sure exactly what the deal is with that. So I basically have to reset my nylon temperatures each time I do nylon. Fairly annoying. Although, if I go open project, and it's looking for the file type CXPRJ. And so if I go to design local, I have a whole bunch of them. Alright, so here's a nylon CXPRJ from a little over a month ago. And I spelled nylon with 2 O's. So this is interesting. I'm on generic PLA. Wow, a whole bunch of my. Very interesting. Oh, I wonder if I was previously on my K1 and not my K1 Max. So I see here I'm on K1 Max. So if I go to K1, yeah, I got a whole bunch more on K1. So, but if I go to K1 Max, geez, keep changes. So nylon material. All right, so 280, 270, 265. Yeah, build plate 80. Yeah, so this is much more correct for nylon. So yeah, you can save projects. So what I did in order to preserve these is if I go file, and then save as project, then I can give it a new project name and then go back and get it another time. So it is, like I say, it is tricky about saving your temperatures and things, and I'm not sure why it does that, but it is what it is. Okay. All right, so let's see what is next. All right, so nylon settings. We save the G code to the USB drive. Eject it. Let's do this. Eject it. On the K1 and the K1 Max, and I guess probably the K1C, and probably future the K2, whatever is coming out, they have these annoying vibration isolated feet. I say they're annoying because they fall off. I wish they would have made them fit a little tighter. They're just these very flobbery rubber feet, which is fine, but there's no fastener to hold them in place. And so basically, if you pick up the printer, the feet fall off. And so it can be tricky to get all 4 on. So I actually apply a little bit of glue stick to the hole that they slip onto, and that seems to help them not fall off, and gets a lot less annoying. But don't print without the vibration isolator feet, because that will greatly affect your print quality and or potentially even damage the printer. So make sure you have the isolation feet on there. So then on the touch screen, you want to click the folder button, I believe it is. Let me see if I go into my content and if I go live. Live. Sometimes, oh, because I'm making my own thumbnails, it's tough to tell. So back in some of my older ones, here's a good example. All right, well, I'm still not going to find what I want here, but so this is an example of a live print that I did. That's a lot of glue on my bed. Forgive that. It makes it work good. It's a little ugly, but it works. So here's the touch screen. So I know I had this, some of the videos I had the touch screen on my videos. And unfortunately I don't have the touchscreen menus in front of me. But anyway, so on the touchscreen, go into, so you go out to the printer, insert the USB drive into the port, and then on the touchscreen, you're going to click the folder button, and then I think there's a tab for USB, and then select your file and hit print. Very easy. There's also a checkbox that says calibrate. You basically might as well leave the calibrate thing checked. I think it might go a little quicker in the preparation time if you uncheck calibration, but I haven't yet figured out which parts it skips if you uncheck calibrate. It still seems to calibrate, so I just don't even try to care anymore. It seems like I want to, if I'm in a hurry, I'll uncheck calibrate, but I'm not even sure if it says anytime anyway. And then you hit print. Of course, make sure your proper filament is in there, and I'll get into how to change your filament down the road here. I do prefer to use a thin layer of glue stick on the bed surface, and that's not really to help adhesion. It's far more in order to allow for easier print removal without damaging the print bed. You can very easily damage the print bed. And the thin layer of glue stick helps you to very easily remove the print from the bed without damaging the bed or the print. But it does stick enough to print successfully. Over time, you may start to get a little bit of grunginess on the print bed, and your parts may not stick properly. And in such cases, I just reapply a thin layer of glue stick, and that solves the whole problem. As you can see from that previous image of that video, it can build up a bit, and so it can be good to, as you can see here, this is a lot of glue built up, and if I got sick of that glue being built up, what I would do is pour rubbing alcohol on it, and then using and I have a video for that, I'm looking as I talk, rubbing alcohol with a coffee filter. And the reason coffee filter is because it's very low lint and doesn't make a mess. If you use paper towel, you're going to get lint all over your print bed because of the glue. So let's see, search across my channel, and so if you search my channel for glue, okay, I have two different videos for that, one last June and one last July. One's 2 minutes, one's 3 minutes. Let's check the 2-minute one. Let's just
one of the most basic things in 3D printing is proper bed.
Stop. It's gonna make me watch a ad, but that's okay.
One of the most basic things in 3D printing is proper bed adhesion. Too little and your print falls off. Too much and you damage your print surface and or your print in removing it. And so glue stick tends to help with helping both. Allows better adhesion, but not too much adhesion. And you can think about that more, and you can ask questions about more detail about that, but it's basically how it works. And so ultimately, you want to add a little bit of glue stick, but you don't want too much glue stick because A, it can be ugly on your print bed, and B, it can be ugly on your print. So the bottom surface.
I'm gonna go to the other one because
sticky side,
I think the other one,
for the most part.
I think the other one goes into detail. I think the other one already has a messy bed, whereas this one is just the first gluing. And plus it's a different print surface. That printer was the Ender 3 S1 Pro. Let's see, so if I go glue, search for glue, and this 3-minute one, this will be actually on my K1. Quick demo here on how I do glue my bed on my K1 here, Creality K1. So first I grab you can see it's looking pretty grungy, and usually it does great first layers. In my last print, the first layer was a little goofy, so I just put a little bit of glue all the way around. Nothing complicated. Now we take some alcohol, dump it on there, put the cap on there. Then you take a coffee filter. This coffee filter, minimal lint as compared to like a paper towel. And I'm not trying to remove all the glue. I'm diluting the glue and spreading it evenly in a very thin layer. And you kind of can't wipe it too much for the most part because the glue. All right, so you get the idea there. And if you take too much glue off, you can always just re-glue it. But anyway, that works very good to allow you to remove prints off your bed without damaging the bed. Works for most materials. Doesn't work at all for polyethylene. Nobody prints with polyethylene. I have, and it's kind of neat. But it's annoying because you take packing tape, which is also polyethylene, like shipping tape, and you put it on the bed, and then you print on the polyethylene tape on the packing tape. And then the annoying thing is you can't get the tape off after, so the bottom of your print is sticky, like permanently, until you get finger oils on it. You know what I mean? So, and I've tried to peel that. So I guess maybe if you did like a raft, I guess you could do a raft and then peel the raft off to get the tape, the adhesive tape off. But anyway, and then sometimes like ABS or whatever, you make an ABS slurry out of like, what do you call it? The nail polish remover. What do you call it? I'm drawing a blank. But you make a slurry out of that, and like some filament, some ABS filament, and that, maybe not so much for ABS, but there's also other materials. I guess maybe it was ABS and also ASA, which is basically ABS with a UV protection. But and then you spread that on the bed. It makes this goopy toxic mess, and you spray it, and you rub that on the bed, put a layer of that, and then that'll stick to it if you have adhesion issues. But that's more advanced stuff. If you get there, this video is not for you. Let's see. All right, glue stick, grungy bed, too much glue. All right, so to change filaments, we're off the thing here. All right, so to change filaments, basically on the touch screen, find the control settings, then the extrude retract tab, select the printing temperature of the material to remove, and then press retract. It'll heat. Now the nozzle will go up to temperature, and it'll back it out. I say here, note how the filament guide tube is arranged. I bypassed the runout sensor on my K1. I'm not sure if it was because of an older version. Like mine was one of the first early adopters of that printer, and it's a little annoying trying to get the filament through the runout sensor. And I never use the runout sensor, and so I just bypass it. And so anyway, so once it's retracted enough, you can pull the filament out, and then of course be sure to reslice the model for the new material with the proper settings. If you try to print, say, polycarbonate on PLA settings, you're not going to have any luck. So then to insert the new material, make sure you cut the end of the filament off a 45-degree angle, not only as a lead-in to make it easier to push it in, but also if it's used filament that you previously used, is usually the end is a little bit thicker, and it can be a little pointy, and you're like, oh, that's going to be perfect, I don't need to cut it at an angle. But the reality is it's usually a little bit thicker of a sort of a knob on the end, and a lot of times that won't go through the Teflon tube easily. Funny thing, people call it always Bowden tube, but a Bowden tube is not about the material; it's about the function of the tube. And yes, on non-direct drive extruders, it is acting as a Bowden tube, but on a direct drive extruder, it's not. There's a tube, but it's not acting as a Bowden tube. It's just a guide tube. And you can debate me on that in the comments. It'll be fun, and I'll tell you. I'll try with humility to explain my point and not ridicule you, but it's the reality, my understanding. Look up Bowden tube, like the definition for what a Bowden tube is, what a Bowden cable is, I should say. So a Bowden cable is anyway. Tangent, squirrel. All right. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, so to insert new material, cut the end at 45 degrees for lead-in, and to get the thick part gone, and then push it all the way in. Then disengage the clutch lever on the extruder, push it in further all the way as far as you can, and then re-engage the clutch lever on the extruder. Then in the settings on the touchscreen, find settings and extrude, and set the new temperature and extrude. Note if you're coming from good wording. If you're coming from or to a higher temperature material, consider the remaining material. For example, if I just printed with polycarbonate at 300 degrees C and then retracted it, and then I want to insert PLA at 220 degrees C, the nozzle is probably going to get clogged, or vice versa. Basically, you can't melt polycarbonate at 220 degrees C and then extrude it out of, purge it out of the rest of it out of the way. So, and also you don't want to purge PLA at 300 because you may burn it and clog it and have a big headache. Ask me how I know. Not this exact situation, but actually that's a good segue to another video series of mine, I should say, where I was like, the label had peeled off. So I've been printing for a bunch of years, and in the humidity in my shed and stuff, and so a few of the spools of filament, the labels have peeled off and fallen off, and so I had this like blue filament with no label on it, and I was pretty sure it was ASA, which prints at a higher temperature, and it turned out it was PLA. And so I set it to print as too high of a temperature, and after some time, after some time, it clogged horribly, and the entire hot end was clogged with melted PLA, and it was horrible. And it took me it was quite challenging to fix everything. But the good thing is, here you go. The good thing is, as I was able to save all the parts. And so this playlist called Nozzle Fix Vids, including K1 Oops Thought ASA, baked PLA at 260 with cover, clogged extruder, 2 nozzle teardown, unclog fix. This is a series of videos where I totally cooked the entire hot end. And so let's see, I made a mistake. I was thinking I had this spool of blue filament, and I thought it was ASA, and now I'm pretty sure it's PLA, because I clogged the hell out of my nozzle here. And so I started taking it apart. I said I might as well let the people see the guts of the hot end. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit just to say what I've done so far. I also have a funny kick in the teeth here. So I don't know if you saw that I got a new phone like yesterday, Pixel 7 Pro, $1,000. Bought it primarily for the camera, because my camera that I'm recording with right now has been failing. And so I just went to use it for the first time as a camera, the new one, and it doesn't have a headphone jack. And then, so I said, "Ooh, you know what? I have a USB to headphone jack adapter because the... Alright, enough of that. Let's see, what am I doing? This stuff is like Viton to tape something down in spacecraft components. Alright, so I give lots of explanations.
Was not lucky enough.
Hopefully some of that is useful to you. I'm going to do something here. Alright, so I have switched my YouTube account to my paid YouTube account, and so I don't have to watch ads. So anyway, so if I go to my playlists, and then let's see, where are you? Here we go. Nozzle fix vids. Alright, so that was that guy. And so that was 20-minute long. This one's like 2 hours long.
Alright, so
I don't remember exactly why.
we go.
I'm using the soldering iron to heat stuff up.
The Filament doesn't. And you say,
It's the new nozzle. So I talk about the new nozzles.
what's behind it?
Let's see.
Okay. Those should be easy to get out. Oh, my bad.
Kind of go through this whole.
Alright, so evidently I ran out of either battery and or space on the other
Comparing
phone.
the hardware, original hardware to newer versions. Like I say,
Totaled it on my way to-
this was I was an early adopter on this printer, and like bought it the day it was released. So there's been a lot of updates and upgrades since I bought mine, and so they've sent me plenty of free parts to upgrade it.
Work after a million close calls.
Which reminds me, I also have a video. Showing how to get good warranty service from Creality. Quick parts, free. Let's see, can I? Yes, if I search warranty. Oops, that's not how you spell warranty. Warranty, free parts quick, free warranty parts, whatever. How to quickly get free warranty parts from Creality customer service for your K1 and Max. And so if I go here, basically,
I find this video very helpful.
And I do show in the, I also summarize the steps in the description. And I'm just advising you to speak clearly and concisely and politely, and copy and paste this questionnaire below your statement and type in your own info. Attach a pic of your serial number QR code on the back of the printer, and also a screenshot of your order confirmation, because they're going to ask you for all these things if you contact them. So you can save yourself a lot of time if you just give them what they're going to ask for ahead of time. That's the point of this video. If you collect all the above, in my experience, you'll get free parts within a week or less every time. Almost every time. Good luck with printing. Didn't break the entire connector. Well, I don't know what I'm saying there. You can read that, but I have this little questionnaire. So fill this stuff out and attach those screenshots and pictures, and you get super quick service. And it takes me 9 minutes to explain that here. Go figure. I can be a little bit wordy. But anyway, so that's that. So if you want to get parts, do it that way. Where was change filaments, reslice the model for new material, don't do the wrong material, to remove completed prints, best to use the included plastic spatula to sort of pry the parts off. I say that because the print bed is basically it's a spring sheet steel sheet with a decal on it of the print surface, and so they can actually get separated, and you get bubbles and whatever, and reduce the print quality. And so I've found that, especially if you print really hot, if you print especially like polycarbonate at 300 degrees, I've actually had the sticker peel right off due to warpage, which there's actually. All right, let's see, where's that?
And they don't.
Let's get out of here. Let's see. Did I call that an oops? I think I got a couple oops videos. There's that one, this one, that one. Yeah, yeah. So printing, yeah, this is funny. So,
Oops, I forgot. If I print a large surface area polycarbonate, I need to clamp down the magnetic bed. So I'm going to try it for about the 82nd time. I think I have the tangled thing overcome.
so the funny thing is, as I said, oh, I just need to clamp it down. Well, I clamped it down. And let me find this other video and show you what happened. Is that also, oops. Where are you? It's funny what happens to this one. I don't know. Let's try it instead. We go PC. Not that guy. Where is it? Yeah, this one. This is horrible. So I clamped down the bed.
Holy cow, I wish I could have gotten that on film, but it was just too time sensitive to get it. So if you look at the previous short video, you see that this, I had the bed perimeter clamped with, like, I don't know, 2 boxes of these binder clips. So and I have 4 left in that box, and there's what, 10 in a box or something? 12 in a box, so 20. I have 20 binder clips around the perimeter, and those held, and it held around the perimeter, and it held it to the bed, held the magnetic plate to the bed. But what happened was, so this is glued. This top surface is glued to this magnetic, well, to the steel sheet. And printing at 100 degrees, I'm sure, and on the bed, I'm sure it didn't help. So basically, the glue, it peeled. If you look back at the other video, and I'm not sure how I can inset that. I guess I can figure it out, but it seems like a lot of editing. Maybe you can just look. Actually pulled this laminate surface up off of the steel sheet to the point where, in a panic, basically, I had to grab the corners, peel it off, like more than halfway. Peeled the glue right, and the glue was all sticky and shiny, very sticky glue, and I was able to push it back down. I can't believe how flat I got it. For what, I mean, it was bad. You can see it in the other video. At first, I just thought it had lifted off, and the plate was, bed surface was deformed, but the steel wasn't deformed. It was just a sticker. It was basically just a sticker. Turns out it was just a sticker with the high temperature.
Yeah, so the with the print bed at 100 and the nozzle at 300, it was very hot, and so the glue that holds the sticker to the steel basically softened up, and the thing just peeled right off. And I now I'm reminded that I didn't get that on video because I just needed to rush to get the thing back together while it was still hot. So anyway, so that's what happened there. So I peeled the parts off, and then I flattened the sheet back out to get the glue reattached. And still, I think I'm still using that print bed to this day. It's getting pretty ugly, but it still works. So anyway, so that was that. Yeah, let's see, plastic. Yeah, so where I was going with that is the plastic spatula. If you just pull the print off the bed, you can get a little bit of bubbles between the print bed surface material and the sheet steel. So I try to use the little spatula. You can also bend the sheet to pop. It's mounts by magnets. So you just pull the whole sheet off the magnet and bend it, and a lot of times that'll pop your parts off too. But just be aware that you can accidentally pull the sticker off the sheet steel, and that's just physics. It's not a Creality problem. It's just physics. Like engineering is always a bunch of compromise trade-offs, and is what it is. Let's see. Putty knife can work. Be careful not to damage the surface, and it's very easy to damage the surface. I don't recommend a metal putty knife. There is actually what I do prefer is there's I don't know if it's Matter Hackers that makes it. I'm going to search for Matter Hackers spatula, and basically Build Tack spatula. Basically this guy. That's weird picture of it. That's a better picture. Oh, okay, this I have this little one. I hadn't seen the big one, but yeah, this little spatula works awesome. And you can't tell here, but it's also tapered, so down at the tip, it's very thin, and it thickens the further you go back, and that's good to give it strength. But it's also thin, so you can get it under stuff. And that's the ideal situation. But still, be careful you don't damage the print bed. Yeah, that guy. So anyway, let's see, blah blah blah. All right, so when it comes to back to printing, after you get all that stuff taken care of, for overhanging geometry, you can use sacrificial support material. It can be added in the slicer software. Just check the box. So, for example, let me find a better. Let's see. Let's go here. And this guy. Okay. Not this is made to be printed flat. But let's say I wanted to print this like this, and let me go to PLA. Okay, and then if I go to supports and I check the box, and I just say normal supports. And overhang angle 60. Oh, that's surprising. I would think it would be 45, but okay. And then I hit save, and then I hit preview, slice. It's going to add supports to support these parts up here. Because you can't print on thin air, right? So this would fail if you try to print this way. And it will show you supports. So it's going to print these supports, and these supports, it like strategically puts a little gap in there so they kind of break off pretty easily. And so these are standard supports, and you can also tailor the supports for various densities and gaps if you want to experiment with different materials and temperatures. And so like if I went to, I'd probably have to click advanced, and then I would have even more options. So there's a lot of different options, but you don't need all those options. It generally works. Just the standard supports generally works pretty good. You can do the overhang angle. You can do the interesting. Interesting. The infill pattern for the supports. That's interesting. You can do like a density. Where is that? Support density 15%. You can adjust those things. So beyond the normal supports, you can go tree supports. So let's go tree slim and you see what that's all about. So if I slice that, the tree support's really neat. Depends on the situation. Like this one would actually probably be good for tree supports. Some cases it just makes more sense to do the conventional supports. Tree supports, I guess, waiting here probably takes longer to generate. But the tree supports are really neat. And it's funny, I did tree supports on a really small part one time, and I thought the print was failing. It looked like foam printing on the bed, and I was like, "What is that?" But it turned out it was just super fine tree supports, and the part came out super accurate. I thought it was going to be garbage, but it came out awesome. So let's see. Oh, this is taking a while. Let me do this. I'm going to cancel this and get rid of this guy and this guy, and I'm going to scale this down a little bit just because it's taking so long. All right, now I slice it, so this should be a lot quicker. To give an example of the tree supports. And in the background, I'm going to have the hockey game on because it is NHL playoffs. Nice. Volume off. So here is tree supports. How funky is that? So in certain situations, these tree supports can make a lot of sense. And they're really cool, and they work really well, and they don't use a lot of material. They're very thin-walled. Let's see if I can show that. Yeah, I mean, you can see here, it's only one layer thin. I can probably customize that if I wanted to. Let's see. sport, pattern, density, expansion. Okay, I don't see it giving me the option of how many layers. Okay, sport wall line count. If I hit advanced, I can do line count on the sports. But anyway, I'm not going to do that. So you see the tree sports. But I can also make custom sports. So a lot of times when I model a part, if I don't trust that the software is going to put the sports where I want, or if it would put too many supports, like if I don't want sports everywhere, I only want sports some places, I'll do, a lot of times I'll just make my own sports. Let's see. So regarding sports, check the box, adjust the taste. Some materials don't work well with sports, such as nylon or TPUs. They stick too well to each other, so you kind of forget about using sports with them. Although you can tune it, and it may work out. PLA is excellent with sports because it usually pops off fairly easily. But the problem with that is that PLA also can crack at the layers very easily a lot of times, depending on your settings. So it's a double-edged sword. It's good and bad. So depending on, if you want really strong parts, PLA is probably not the way to go. But if you want really strong, complicated parts that you need supports, then PLA may be the way to go. And PETG is probably not as good, but still pretty good as far as the material support removal. Very different from material to material. They say never leave the printer running. This is not official advice. I'm going to call this satire so nobody can sue me if they leave the printer unattended. They say never leave the printer running unattended due to fire risk. But I mean, you have a 12-hour print, you have a 30-hour print going. What are you gonna do? But so I do like printing in a shed. I have a shed for my printers. It's more about the fumes than the fire hazard, to be honest with you. And it's funny. Some people say, "Oh, PLA, there's no odor, so it's not bad for you." Listen, carbon monoxide, there's no odor either, but it will kill you dead. So odor doesn't mean no danger. And yes, I think PLA fumes are safer than, say, nylon fumes or whatever. And some fumes are really toxic, plastic fumes. But I don't like to breathe any of them in my house, and so they're on a shed. And I recommend a shed for those two reasons. And if it gets too cold for you, I built enclosure cubes out of like 1-inch foam board, and I happen to have aluminum foil backed foam board for even better, to reflect the heat back in. And then I put a little space heater in there, and I've printed down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and had them work fine. So that's an option. Let's see. All right, so, and then one other thing, if you want to send large files, like so I've noticed that at least on my girlfriend's iPhone, if I try to send her, like it doesn't let me attach a document to a text message, and I believe it's because she has iPhone, and so I think I can't send a document to anybody with an iPhone via my text message. But what I do use is WeTransfer.com, and this is not a paid advertisement. You can send stuff for free, up to 2 gigabytes a day, so you can send huge files free, up to 2 gigabytes a day, and I've been using it for quite a few years now. And it's my go-to big file, or even just small file transfer if it's too big for a text or an email. And so I guess that is about it for my guide to 3D printing, the overall guide to 3D printing. Let's see. Let me while I have your attention here, let's look at if there's anything else interesting in my playlist that I should mention. So if I go back to my channel here and I say videos, let's see. I made these TPU grip training balls. That's a pretty neat one. Here's a nylon phone holder that I made from handlebar phone mount. I've got some videos of my cat. These aren't. I guess these are. I haven't been publishing much lately, so I guess in the last 2 months I've only. Wow, I haven't published in a month. Look go. Anyway, I made this 3D printed kettlebell so I can put my little weight plates on it. That works excellent. Actually, so I made this 4 months ago, and I actually used it for the first time last week, and it worked awesome. I bought this awesome 6x6 quad. Look at this thing. All right, so you might have seen my post last week for the gun club. Tough bed. This thing is sweet. I never ride it. I just bought it because it's so cool. And theoretically for a little utility work around the yard. But right now I just have cardboard recycling in the bed, which is fine. Let me see if I can obscure. This thing's awesome. Vintage. Bought it off my buddy. Offer I couldn't refuse. I already had an old quad. I made these nylon pliers for removing these plastic rivets. I made a bunch of videos on that, developing it. I got some cool griddle videos. Some knives for a client. Messing with AI. Oh, that was this. That was just that's funny. That was just this. What do you call it? Thumbnail. I made that thumbnail with DALL-E. Oh, this is the one we were watching, and I guess all I got was the thumbnail. You can see here how this is raised up. It's like the surface is raised up off the bed. I'd like to cook on my griddle and Filament last summer for whatever reason. Let's see, multicolor printing. Here's some good examples of multicolor printing. Sometimes I mess with my FLIR camera. Some TPU stuff. What else do we have? Well, nothing too groundbreaking. I have a few electric mountain bike review videos. That's my favorite off-roading. I have a whole bunch of off-road stuff. ATVs, dirt bikes. Electric mountain bikes are my favorite. These are my two different electric mountain bikes I have. And I compare. I do the same ride with both of them there. Comparing. I do some filament changes for multicolor stuff. Let's see, what else did I do? And I guess I'm doing a year in review, huh? I'm close to a year. Yeah, my channel is close to a year now that I come to think of it. Although I was doing stuff all the time early on. And I mean, it's funny, like, yeah, anyway, I was printing a whole bunch of stuff early on, like multiple things a day. I'm sorry, publishing videos, content, and just sort of got onto other things and haven't been lately. But maybe I get back into it. I'm getting close to 500 subscribers, which then I could actually accept tips. How about that? Anyway, I was messing with ChatGPT. What I could do, I actually asked it to make me a script for Blender to simulate the solar system, and this was after probably 50 iterations of it. And actually, I'm happy. So you get the little moon going around the Earth and stuff. And the funny thing was the first prompt I did of it was actually pretty good. Like, it was all the planets. They were all. I didn't tell them what color. It made the sun yellow, made the Earth blue, made Mars red. But they weren't moving, and they were super far away from each other. So I had to like change the scale of the distances, but not the scale of the things. And this was all just me trying again with telling ChatGPT to update the script. So that was pretty neat. That came out pretty good. That was fun. And I guess some SolidWorks. These are actually, yeah, so you can see these are 2 years ago. I tried doing some SolidWorks tutorials, and the funny thing is, 16 views, 28 views, 53 views, and that's in 2 years. So nobody's interested in my SolidWorks tutorials, even though they're useful. And I do have some newer. So like if I go to my playlists, and every time, so for example, if I go to, where's my SolidWorks playlists here? Here we go, SolidWorks tutorials. Hello. In this video. Oh, I see. So I have 19. That's 19 SolidWorks tutorials. 113 views on this one.
Welcome back.
86 views on this one, and actually this one got me a whole bunch of or printing this. No, printing this got me a whole bunch of subscribers. These SolidWorks
Just a
videos
quick
get me
advance.
99 views in 9 months. So I don't get many views on my SolidWorks tutorials. So I don't do many of them. And actually, so I have a more recent one. I did one with the kettlebell thing, I thought. Yeah. So here's the kettlebell one.
All right, welcome back to the
24 views in 4 months. So I don't get a lot of views on my SolidWorks tutorials. But I'm pretty happy with this. And this came out awesome. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Nice photo. I thought of it before, but you know what?
I did not. But that's fine. And really, it came out pretty awesome. And it works. I'd show it to you, but I don't have a camera going right now. But it came out good. I probably have a. I'm sure I have a print. I'm sure I have a video of it printing. Let's see if I search for kettlebell live print. I don't think I ever showed the final SolidWorks. Yeah, I don't think I ever showed the final outcome of it, but it works, and maybe I'll show it, but I don't think people care too much. But well, I guess that I just zipped through my year's worth of videos, and nothing else worth noticing there. I don't think. I did some plenty of short videos. My poor cat Godzilla. This was like right before he got attacked.
Godzilla, that looks super comfy.
And then he got attacked, and something jumped his Godzilla as seen by.
All right, so if anybody remembers these videos, my pal Godzilla here was recently evidently attacked and is getting surgery today. So that was what day was that? That was Saturday. I was about to go kayaking, and 5 minutes before I was about to leave, he came flopping in the door, all super injured. And so looked around for emergency vet. Turned into a crazy, stressful day.
Anyway, yeah, that was a very stressful day. But the good news is he's fine now. Like, he's all healed up. He has a big titanium rod across his whole length of his femur, pins and screws at both ends, some baling wire around one end to tie the shattered bone end back together, and he was sprinting across the yard just the other day. So he is back up and running. But anyway, all right, enough of that. All right, so I think this video has run its course, and if you're still watching now, then you're amazing, and thanks for watching. And like, subscribe, and share with your like-minded friends and all those things, and look forward to hopefully I get up to 500 subs pretty soon. It'd be pretty neat. This isn't like, I'm not making any income here or anything like that, but it's kind of fun to do, and wouldn't mind making a few bucks eventually off it. But anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Hopefully I come up with something more interesting soon.